these families have sacrificed so much. Even if you don't donate, even if you don't volunteer, like at minimum, just go on the website and learn about these men and women, because that's why we're here. We're trying to make sure that these men and women are never forgotten.
Hello and welcome to Making Shooters Better, brought to you by Laser Ammo. I'm your host, Terry Vaughan, a former Royal Marines Commando and now resolute defender of Shall Not Be Infringed. Today I'm joined by the always enthusiastic Kristen Wilson Day, competitive shooter and marketing guru, and we are both so bloody excited to welcome our special guest, Eric Torres. Eric, a retired Green Beret from the legendary 5th Special Forces Group, has over 2 decades and multiple combat deployments to places like Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Eric lived the brotherhood, the battles, and the losses that come from service at the highest level. Those experiences inspired him to co-found the Memorial Valor Foundation, which for the last 8 years has supported Gold Star families and honored the legacy of America's fallen warriors. Eric, welcome to the podcast.
I appreciate you, Terry. Thank you for having me on, man. Kristen, you too. I appreciate you guys.
It's glad to have you.
So, Eric, can you share what led you ultimately to co-found Memorial Valor Foundation?
Absolutely. So throughout my career, you can imagine, I've lost quite a few friends, due to battle, obviously, and, other things like training accidents and suicide due to PTSD. It kind of hit me hard. But at some point in our career, being a Green Beret, we have to go give back to the force, the regiment, and go teach, the future generation of operators. While there, 2 of my buddies were deployed to Jordan, and they were just going through their security gate, just getting back on base, and they were ambushed by the security guard. For some reason, this guy opened up on their convoy. And Kevin McEnroe, I went through the Q course with him and went to 5th group with him. He passed away, and Matt Llewellyn, me and him served in the same company. He passed away, and then along with another gentleman named James Moriarty. So yeah, I kind of took it hard. I was stuck behind the podium teaching these young kids, and I'm like, I'd rather be downrange with my brothers. Who knows what could have happened if I was there, kind of deal. Taking some of that responsibility, which I shouldn't, which most guys do, but it's something we struggle with. But with that being said, I realized there's something that needed to be done. These guys are still passing away. And then this is about the time I shot the charity match. It's a 3-gun match they put on at Fort Bragg for a gentleman named Chief Mike Duskin. It's a pretty well-renowned match. It's an invite only due to it being on post. So you have to have the credentials of ensuring you're not some Joe Schmo off the streets. And you know how to handle firearm. But with that being said, I saw what they did with Mike, the camaraderie that brought the unit together. And then obviously it was around the same time my buddies passed away. And I was like, man, this is awesome what they're doing for Mike, but what about my buddies? What about the guys that continuously pass away? So that was around the time me and Bryce Lemlin linked up. He was actually a student of mine. He got hurt in the Q course, and he was a good student, good kid. And we put him in our supply closet. It's like he issues all the equipment kind of deal. Normally we send him to what's called med hold, and normally some make it back, some don't, but we knew we wanted him. But I knew he shot, so I was like, Bryce, help me set this match up. He helped me set it up. And afterward, we didn't know what we were doing, Terry. We were in McDonald's around midnight, like drawing stages on a napkin. Like I never designed a match before. I didn't know about timing from, shooter to shooter, like you have time, I guess, and make sure you stay on schedule. No, didn't know any about that. So we made it work. A Griffin Group opened their doors to us. It's a training facility out at Maxton, North Carolina. We were supposed to hold it on post, but a week out, they canceled it on us. And you can imagine, like, the heart dropped, stomach dropped, and we're like, what are we going to do? But we drove on. Like I said, Griffin Group opened their doors to us, and we put it on there. Huge success. It was only like 72 shooters, 8 stages. It was a 1-day event. It was to the point where, you're shooting long range and now it's nighttime. So you put your car headlights on the targets kind of deal. And then people didn't walk out of there to the prize table till like 1 or 2 in the morning. But the best thing of it, man, it was not one person complained. everybody was there for the right reason, knew why they were there. And they gave us some grace when it came to not knowing what we were doing, but our hearts were in it and they saw it. But afterwards they came up to us and they were like, "Hey man, do you mind doing my buddy next year?" And me and Bryce kind of looked at each other. We're like, we're planning on just doing one. Like, this is just something to make a difference and impact. But I kind of understood what they were going through, because obviously this is why I started it, why I did this match. So me and Bryce decided to form a 501c3, became the Memorial 3-Gun Foundation at the time, and realized we couldn't do it on our own. We've had multiple volunteers throughout the years. Some just stayed, some went. It's definitely taxing because it's an all volunteer organization. You people have family jobs, and we're asking more of them for nothing, but to do something for the greater good. So that's kind of where it inspired and where it started.
Definitely not for nothing. You know that, right? It's definitely not for nothing.
I know, and I don't mean to say it like that, but as time goes on, people forget that sometimes, that it is for the greater good. It's for these people, these families, these soldiers that sacrificed everything. And then when you're grinding day in, day out, some people forget that. And I don't mean to speak ill of that, but it's hard because it's 8 years down the road and people, they're putting in, sacrificing family time, but we always try to do is put those families first. They sacrifice their lives. They sacrifice their husbands. So, and we still manage, we have, I think 22, 23 committee staff members, volunteers year round. And that's not including the events we put on. So we have a wonderful, great group, self-sacrifice people.
It's not just a weekend. So it's like the shooters usually think, as a comp shooter as well, you thinking it's just coming in for the weekend, but just to plan a match, I'm thinking 3-gun with 8 stages. I thought that was a lot for a first match, even still, which with the headlights on, that explains everything. But it sounds like you even had a great first turnout. So I love it.
Yeah, you hit it on the head, Kristen. Like, we aren't just your normal match. And that's what was hard first starting off. And I think we got the word out, we're not your normal match, because people expected, Sunday, it's usually, hey, we're going to shoot our last 2 stages. We're going to do a quick little on the picnic table award ceremony, real quick, get your stuff and go. And people are up by like 1 or 2. People aren't leaving our match that Sunday until like 10, 11 at night, still to this day. And it's because of all this extra stuff we have going on. On top of the 10-stage match, we have side stages. And along with those side stages, there are prizes. We have vendors come out. Well, I think this year we had around like 15. We have food trucks. And then that Sunday, the reason we run so late is because the shooters shoot their last 3 stages. We bring in a little bird. We give the Gold Star family rides on that little bird. And then we also use that little bird to do a side stage as well. So we raffle off 15 slots. Those shooters get to go up, shoot some aerial targets, land next to the 727 that's there at Griffin Group, go in, shoot some stuff in the plane, outside the plane, I should say. And then after that, we have a barbecue. Bearded Bee, it's a brewing company out in Window, North Carolina. They come out and donate all the beverages for the adults.
Wow.
Free of charge. And it's just like it's a celebration. And after all that's wrapped up, we have the remembrance ceremony. So, and then we have the award ceremony. So as we talk it out, people, okay, now I see why you're there so late. But again, it took a lot to get that out in the community, because people were kind of mad that, hey, it's 11 o'clock. I have work tomorrow. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. But yeah.
Well, for most people, unfortunately, that's the smallest sacrifice that they could make to support such a great cause. And I think as soon as you start throwing a little bird into the mix, most people are not riding that or any helicopter, let alone a little bird. So if somebody says to me, okay, at 11 o'clock tonight, you're going to be up in the little bird, I'm in. I don't care how late it goes.
Where do I sign?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just like you said, though, just like you said, Eric, it's a small sacrifice. Yeah, I'm going to lose some sleep, but guess what? I'm going to get up tomorrow morning, whereas these families don't have the loved one to share that with. So super, super important.
Hit it on the head, Kristen.
So you've worn many hats over the years, mate, between Green Beret, operational planner, instructor, and now CEO of a nonprofit. Are there any skills in particular from special operations that you think have proven to be most valuable for you in this new mission?
That's a great question, man. I get that asked quite a bit when it comes to running the foundation. They're like, "Oh, what background? What business do you run? What college did you go to? And did you get your MBA?" I'm like, No, never went to college. Did like 3 years, but no. So my skills and, that I've received is just from the military. And that's why I've been so successful. I truly believe in this foundation, not only because of the heart behind what we do, and it's too easy for people to get behind it, but it's more of the organizational piece and, organizing logistics, organizing, the planning, the timeline, organizing people, and making sure that everybody feels appreciated. So when I bring it back to the military, that's what we truly did. Being on a 12-man ODA, that's Operation Detachment Alpha. We're 12-man guys, and we are expected to go behind enemy lines and succeed without any support with our guerrilla force. So the militia, I guess, is another way to put it. And be able to train them with what we have and be able to disrupt enemy lines and other tasks like that. So we have to be self-sufficient. We have to know how to plan from A to Z. We have to know contingencies, like what if this doesn't go right? What are we going to plan? Like what things can possibly go wrong and what's going to be our course of action for that? And you have to think of everyone you can think of so your team's ready. Not only that, but simple getting out the door. What logistics do we need? How are we going to pack it out and get all this equipment to where we need the destination? What transportation are we going to take? What intelligence do we need? So there's a lot more that goes into it. And that also helps me with my civilian career, because transferring over from military to the civilian world, I didn't look at the big picture. I was like, okay, yeah, I led people and we shot guns and we trained and met people. And it's way more than that, as you can hear from what I just said. And and that's the pieces that I don't think a lot of people realize, what Green Berets or special operations in general, what we bring to the table. And that enabled me to be successful with the foundation, because I'm bringing our glide path. Every unit has some type of glide path from start to finish, where you want to end, where your end state is going to be. I brought that to our foundation from start to finish along this glide path, what critical points we need to meet. Breaking down our sections. Like we didn't have a section, obviously, when I first stood this up. So I had to figure out our S1, which is our PR section now. S1 in the military is your administrative. S2 is intelligence. Well, that's going to be more of our, actually, we don't have intelligence. I guess that would be me and my COO, because we're trying to figure out everything that everybody needs. And then our S3 is our operations in the military, which we have a director of operations and tasks they need to know. And again, we're bringing in people that have never been in the military. They've never ran companies or sections. So we have to teach them what that looks like. So yeah, Terry, that's a great question. It's, the military's set me up for huge success without even knowing it. And finally starting to realize it.
So Memorial Valor's mission, which is remember, honor, and memorialize, is plainly obvious as to why that ended up being your company mantra, something I know that you live by. We can tell that from just your passion and enthusiasm for talking about what you do. I'm kind of curious to your opinion as to how leaders in other organizations, any other organizations, should ensure that their own company culture is lived, rather than it just ending up being some sort of plaque on a wall that people pass every day but don't really adhere to.
Yeah, I guess the first question is, not even question, the first thing to look for with employees is, do they have the passion of what you're trying to do, what your end state is, what your mission is? If people are coming into your organization and they don't have that drive or passion, and you don't see it on that initial interview, there's no point to wasting your time with them in the beginning. Every person that we brought in came to the event prior to even jumping on board. So they got to witness what we were doing and the effect, not only what witness, but the effect it had on the family. First person that comes to mind is my sponsors director for the match itself. Her name is Gretchen Swartout. Her husband's a shooter as well, Chad Swartout. And he shot them. He was volunteering, I think, just for the ambassador program, and he came and shot it. But she came along just to tag along. And she was bawling during the remembrance ceremony, like where the families get up and speak about their loved one. So she was able to make that direct connection with what we were doing and want to help. And then providing that purpose, like obviously depends on what your company is surrounded by, but our purpose is pretty obvious. So it's very easy for people to connect that. But keeping that motivation. So when I first started, keeping that motivation throughout the years, people not forgetting the why. So it's my job to show the effects that they're having. We get notes all the time from families, text messages from families. After we send them on a trip, they'll send us a text, or we send them money for an emergency. They'll send me a text or even an email. It's my job to ensure I'm pushing that out to the team so they understand that, yeah, you are trying to get donations for sponsors, but that's your small little piece in this giant scheme of plan that we have going. But it all goes back to purpose. Like, you got to make sure your drive and what you're trying to achieve is shared by your employees, or not even your employees, just your friends that are with you.
I have to say, Gretchen is amazing. I met her at SHOT Show, and she is just, you can just tell she exudes, remembrance and, the mission that you guys have. And I think that it's awesome too when you have people that come to your match and actually see the whole vision in place, then they could better be stewards for the organization versus, and I don't mean it like this, but just a nonprofit for veterans. This is past that, I think. So having the nonprofit for veterans is amazing because I'm part of one as well. But doing these extra steps that you're doing to pay it forward to those Gold Star families is just huge. And I think when they see it, they can kind of pull it all together and see how they can fit into your organization. So I think that's great.
Yeah, and you hit it on the head when it came to that. You have to witness it because, like, we're sitting here telling you, Terry, what we do and what we're about, and that's awesome. Like, that I'm doing my best to convey what we do at this match and how our foundation helps these families. But you truly don't understand until you attend. And we tell everybody that, every sponsor, anybody interested. And granted, we understand it's from, I don't know, some people we talk in California, it's definitely a haul for them to come out for a 3-day event or even a day event. But you truly don't get it until you witness it. And having those people witness it and love what we're doing, I could see the passion, and that's why I invite them on. And then it's just trying to figure out their skill set. Not only that, but like, what are you good at where you can help the foundation? That's something we struggle with. Again, live and learn, right? Like, I don't have my MBA. So we brought people in and I'm like, I need you here. This is where I need you. Like, I need you to be my director of operations. And they worked a cash register or something. And I need you to be my director now. So maybe not the greatest person to put in that position, but they did the best they could. And then they're like, hey man, I need to be moved somewhere else. I'm like, got it. Understand. My bad. My fault. So now we do have some type of a process putting people where they should go.
Yeah, but like most people who start their own business through, a napkin that ended up being scribbled on at midnight somewhere, we figure it out as you go. And of course, with your background, particularly that improvisation, adapting, having to overcome each of the new obstacles, I think one of the things you've probably tapped into, and something that most organizations seem to overlook, is the emotion involved in the why. Every time you communicate going up and down the chain, it's an opportunity for that individual, that leader, to inflect emotion into the why of whatever that person is doing, right? It's giving them the emotion to fuel the next challenge or the next work that person's got to perform. And I think so often with organizations, communication only ends up going one way. It goes up, but nothing's coming back. They're not getting any feedback. They're not being told the results of what they have achieved is X and put into some sort of personal context. So I think that what you've said there taps into that. And I think for others listening who are in leadership positions, communication is often best as a two-way street, especially when it comes to passing along the value of what the team is doing.
Right. And I think that's shown too at the events. They actually get to see the reward of their efforts. For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then not only like the two-way communication, but I think it's because people are afraid to fail, specifically leaders. And that's something I'm not even going to lie, I struggle with that. I don't like being wrong. So I overthink things at times. Right. So with leaders, they don't want to fail. So they act like they know everything. And then they push that onto their people. And then that's disaster waiting to happen. And I guess with me, I'm in a different situation because we all are all volunteer organization. I don't mean it this way because I want to hear everybody's opinion, but they deserve to be heard. Like they're donating their time too and investing in this. So I have to take into account, what do you guys think? Like, is this the best course of action? Because if I'm coming down as a dictator or somebody saying this is the way we're doing it, I'm going to get not the great feedback because they're like, hey, I'm giving up my time and you're just telling me like, no, I'm done. So you got to make sure everybody feels valued and that they feel appreciated, specifically with a nonprofit. And I don't say struggle, that's wrong. We still work at that every single day to make sure every single person in the foundation, every donor, every sponsor, every supporter feels appreciated. I have a public relations section, and that's why I stood it up. The original section was just set up because I wanted them to keep an eye out for people to where we could say thank you. And that section's growing. I just wanted them to be able to show somebody that made a comment on our post. Make sure you reach out and say thank you. Somebody that donates a check or donates money, make sure we mail them a thank you card. And it's all these little things you have to put together, and you have to have the right people in place to understand that.
I do like what you said about fear of failure, because I think so many people, either by virtue of promotion or, they've achieved a particular set of goals and they find themselves in a leadership position, now feel like, well, I need to know everything for everybody's job. They're trying to be a master of everything. And it's funny because my short time in the military, we were jungle training. And I remember there was a staff sergeant, color sergeant, who was in charge of us. And as far as I was concerned at that point, because I was fairly young in the military, this guy, he was a rock star. He'd been there, he'd done that, he'd worn out the t-shirt. And we got to a river crossing and we were trying to figure out the best way to get across. It was a very fast current. And I'm looking at this dude like, okay, he's going to have the answer. Whatever it is that we're going to have to, whatever skills we're going to need to utilize, he's going to bring it up. And he looks at us and he looks as lost as the rest of us. He's like, that is a death sentence. And at first I'm kind of looking around at everybody else going, well, that can't be right. This dude's been there. You know what I mean? Like there's that moment. And he said, does anyone have any ideas? And I didn't realize it perhaps as much as I have in reflection, just how powerful that was. Because this guy was quite willing to stand up and say, yeah, I don't have all the answers. And if one of you does, I'm quite happy to have a go. And it was funny because there was a guy who said, oh, I've seen this, or I've heard of this. Why don't we try X? And it was a very different approach than anything anyone was thinking. So that's how we got across what was a very dangerous current. But I remember at the time going, hold on a minute, that my whole universe shifted. This dude with his, green beret perfectly positioned on his head. I'm like, you don't know? We're all going to die. Like immediately that was my response. And afterwards I thought, no, that was bloody genius. He literally said, I'm not sure. And even if he was, hell, he may have known exactly how to get across. He opened it up to all of us, and suddenly we were taking personal responsibility for the decision-making and the processes we were going to need to put in place. It was a phenomenal teaching moment. You don't have to, as the leader, have all the answers. Lean on your team, and they will respect, in my opinion, the hell out of you for having the confidence to say just that.
Yep, for sure.
And I know we're going quite long on the leadership, but I think it's a very valuable point. Because I think the persona is the leader is supposed to know everything. And you said it right off the bat, like the leader's supposed to know everything. They have the answers, because if they don't, guess what? He's incompetent. And I think that's something we all strive with as leaders, because you don't want to come off incompetent. You don't want to fail your team because of that. So having the fortitude to be like, nope, I don't know it. We're a team. Let's figure it out together. It brings a whole nother dynamic to what leaders truly are. And I think in this new generation, that's what leading is, compared to the prior years, past generations. It used to be, leadership used to be quite different. And now I think we're adapting a little bit to more of a team dynamic. And I hope most companies do that, because having somebody up top being a tack driver, nail driver, it's not a good cohesive team that you're creating. And then it's funny because I see that even with Sig Sauer now, because we're looking at expanding different positions. And I was speaking to one of my directors, and he was, we're going to be looking at manager positions. And then, and I was like, well, do they need to know X, Y, and Z? He's like, no, you know that, Eric. Like, it's leading, managing people, being able to help the team. You don't need to know the minutes. That's why you have your team. I was like, yep. So it's infecting everywhere, which is, no, I shouldn't say infecting. It's spreading everywhere, because it's a positive way to lead your teams.
So I know that shooting competitions are a huge part of the foundation's DNA. Do you think there's any training mindset from competition that you think applies to life off the range?
As far as the shooting aspect, like from shooting to how it relates to off the range?
Yeah. Like what skill set necessarily, let's say someone becomes a competent competition competition shooter, what skills do you think that might be applicable away from the range that work, in either arena?
Absolutely. So my first one that comes to mind is attention to detail. When dealing with firearms in general, you have to be very detailed and because safety conscious, because, obviously we're dealing with firearms here. And now you're not just standing in one spot, you're moving from point A to point B, you're running backward, you're running forwards. So being extremely detailed of what you're maneuvering, that goes back to daily lives. You want to be detailed, conscientious of what you're doing in your everyday life. Are you moving in the right path? Are you not moving in the right path? Are you turning around and pointing your gun at people compared, and then that relates to your normal life because are you running into the wrong direction? When it comes to planning, obviously every stage you come across, you have to create a game plan. And that's with life, with anything, with your family, with jobs, you have to create a roadmap of where you want to go and how you're going to get there. And that goes back to competition shooting. Okay, how am I going to take down this stage? And it's always funny because when you see newer shooters come on, they get completely overwhelmed because it's like, oh my gosh, there's all these targets and all these, okay, I only could shoot this target with this firearm and I have to move here, but I can't shoot it here. So it's throwing a lot at them, but then you just break it down to smaller pieces. Okay, no, you're looking at the bigger picture. Let's figure out the first step and then the next step. Okay, what are you going to do here? And then that's how life is. Like life is, okay, I want to get a job I'm just going to use me, for example. I'm getting out of the military. I want to get into the industry. Oh my gosh, it's huge. I could be like that new shooter with deer in the headlights, or I could come out with a roadmap to figure out how to get there. And that's competitive shooting. Discipline, focus, planning, safety. It all revolves around it. And the more we talk about it, I'm like, yeah, it relates really closely to life. So, those are the key aspects, I would say.
It's funny. You still have that NCO tone. When you said attention to detail, I started twitching. I'm like, no, please don't. But it's true. It really is. Life and success in life is all about attention to bloody detail. And competition shooting, absolutely. But life in general, it's just funny. You're like attention to detail, and I'm like, I felt myself
you have flashbacks.
What did I miss?
Oh my gosh.
Excuse the interruption, but this is just a quick reminder. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe, and help us keep making shooters better. Cheers, and back to the episode. So I know that Memorial Valor provides financial aid, vacations, even housing support to the recipients. What do you think? Why are you going above and beyond just the financial aid aspect of Memorial Valor? Because there are a lot of different charities that do give to veterans organizations, but I feel like Memorial Valor is going well above and beyond that and helping create experiences where it's about healing and connection.
I think it began when me and Bryce first stood this up. It was something simple. We just wanted to raise $100,000 to divide up amongst the 10 family. And I gave a speech at Hillsdale College last week, and one of my lines, and I truly believe it, and when I was writing it, it's not charity. It's showing that we care and that you'll never be forgotten. Because yes, people look at it as it's charity to these families, but it's really not. It's a gift to show that you are not forgotten and we are still here and we'll never forget you guys. And that's where that money came into play, that first 100,000, and that was a 10-year goal. We did that in 3 years.
Wow.
So I kind of had to reevaluate what we were trying to do for these families, because obviously we're able to do more if we're able to achieve that in 3 years. And that's where these other ways of helping came into play. And it's just different ways to show them, rather than just giving them the check and showing you will never be forgotten. It's different ways we can show them that, by calling on us if you ever need us for an emergency, by sending them holiday checks when it's probably one of the most difficult times of the year for them, to show that you weren't forgotten, on top of a Christmas card and all that. We still do that type of stuff. And then these vacations, I've realized, like, your ordinary family does not invest in a dream vacation for themselves. And same goes to these families.
Right.
And who out of everybody in this nation deserve it the most? So that's kind of where that came into play. And then I saw where the Gary Sinise Foundation, what he does for, obviously he's very well supported and able to do a lot for these families. And I saw the effect it had on the Disney World trips he did for the kids. And that's kind of
Saw
where it
that.
kind of, yeah, it's amazing. He does such great work. And that's kind of where it inspired me to create a program like that. And he does the Disney World stuff. But my thing was like, well, what if a family, that's not their dream vacation? What if it's going to Death Valley or Aruba or just anywhere? So I want to give them that dream vacation that they would invest in themselves. And that's another way we can show that we care, we see you, you'll never be forgotten. And then the housing, that's a 15-year goal for us. We'll see where we'll be at. We have a couple more years for that. So we already created a stock for that. So we're putting money away, hoping to get there in that 15-year goal. And again, it's just another way to select a family and say, we see you, we love you guys, you'll never be forgotten. We hope this helps.
That's awesome. Creating experiences, because financial is quite honestly is a big burden already. But when you're losing the breadwinner or a part of the family, dynamic, but having experiences that you can enjoy with the family that's left is a great experience, a great thing to do as well. So that's awesome.
And it's not only because every family's treated, I shouldn't say treated differently. They get the different type of recognition because we don't only do KIA. We do soldiers that were killed in training accidents.
Mhm.
Any special operations soldier, for the most part, we honor. So we had a buddy, Chris Vallejo. He stood up a charity called Coast to Coast, and they kind of helped us along the way. He did, I should say. He was over in Delta for many years, and then he retired. And he was driving home, and he's an honoree of ours this year. He was driving home, had a brain aneurysm, and then crashed and passed away. So why should his sacrifice, because he was put in situations that he would never have received that. So why should his recognition be any different than somebody
Right.
else? Or even, I shouldn't say recognition, but just support that him and his family receive. So that's kind
Yeah.
of where I saw that gap, me and Bryce, and we're like, all right, we want to help everybody. Like that little boy he doesn't know the difference. He just knows his dad's gone. And then we just want to
Yeah.
make sure your dad was special. He sacrificed a lot for this country. He did some great things. So that's kind of where we want to fill that void.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think for anyone that served, getting out, stepping away from the camaraderie, the trust, hell, the love you had while you were in, that's tough. Now, for the families, the whole routine, the whole world has been turned on its head. And recognizing that they're struggling. They're doing the best they can to just get through a bloody week. The last thing they're going to be thinking about is, we should start planning a holiday.
They're
It just
right.
doesn't even register. It's not even on the radar. So the fact that you're able to step in and do something like that is bloody outstanding.
And I bet the guilt too. There's the survivor's guilt, and how could we celebrate having a vacation or a holiday when we've lost this other part of our family?
And I've heard a lot of families that say it's the vacation or sentiment were a healing moment for them. Not only the match itself being around the people, but just them being away by themselves. I've heard it numerous times that this is a healing moment from our family. We've been completely enjoyed it. Yeah, you're right, Kristen.
It's awesome.
People didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said at the very beginning about the late hour with the competition running into the nighttime and people like I gotta get up for work in the morning, and then them suddenly realizing the real reason that they're even there in the first place. Understanding, here's one of my problems is we have gotten, unfortunately, so accustomed to hearing the passing of servicemen in one capacity or another, whether it's through suicide or service. We've reached the point where it's words on a page. And yes, we scroll through our Instagram, we're like, oh God, that's heartbreaking. Next. But going to an event like this puts faces and emotions and authenticity behind the level of sacrifice that we're seeing. And
That's
it
right.
contextualizes it for people. It takes it off the page and something that's sort of removed to something truly personal. I imagine people would have a very hard time complaining, well, I got to be up for work at 5 a.m. You're like, that's your sacrifice today? You got to get up early in the morning, lose a few hours of sleep. When the family of someone who has lost someone in the service of this country one capacity or another, whether it was actually in combat or just through service or service-related injuries, it doesn't matter. That is true sacrifice. You suddenly realize you can put it into perspective. And I think that's something that is probably incredibly important for what your organization is doing.
Yeah, one of the things I gave guidance on was the pictures we put up, and they kind of went away from it the past couple of years, but I kind of steered them in the right direction again. When we have their pictures up, I don't want them to put the uniform, their picture of them in their uniform. I want them with their family, their clothing, because people can't connect. Because you said you said it correctly, man. Like people just say, oh, it's another military guy that passed away. They don't humanize them, and that's what we
He's a
do at this
dad.
match.
He's
We
a
put
dad.
we have,
He's a spouse. Yeah.
exactly. So at these match, like they're each stage is honored after each one of these guys, and then we have a bio that's written from the family that the ROs read. Everybody signs
Oh,
this the stage sign. Then we present it to the families at the remembrance ceremony, and then most importantly, every ceremony that I've been to in my past of my friends passing away, it's been like obviously it's a hard, so I doubt the families want to speak during that time, but it's mostly like, hey, listen to the generals talk about your husband and just sit here. Granted, that's probably the right thing at the time because families are probably just couldn't even speak. But now I want to give them a platform. You tell
Yeah.
us who your loved one was. Like, what did he love to do? What is it that you want us to remember about him? And then we give them as long or as shorter as they want the mic. And then each one comes up. And then I just can't give enough credit to these families, like for multiple things. One being so strong to come up again. And I can't imagine it's easy. They're reliving it every single time. Some it gets a
right.
little easier, but I appreciate them being willing to do that and share their story. But next, it's like we're a small organization. I think our annual income normally donations is like 300 to 400,000. So that's between operational costs, the one full-time employee we have, and then the mission, the pillars I just stated to you. So we can't afford to bring these families in. So they are entrusting us that we are going to do the right thing by their loved one and give them a great experience. So they're paying out of pocket to come. And then obviously at the end of the night, we give them that $10,000 each. So hopefully it offsets some of that. But again, I can't thank them enough for entrusting us and believing that we're going to do the right thing by their loved ones. Because some of them never even heard of us. Like their friend may have nominated him and then reached out to the family, because that's one of our processes is if you have somebody you want to nominate, you have to have prior approval from the family before you nominate them. So these families probably never even heard of us. This guy just came up and said, hey, I want to do this for him. And they're like, okay. And then it's a lot more than they bargained for. I ain't going to lie, because we're bugging them throughout the year. Hey, we're trying to collect pictures. We're trying to get bios. Like, tell me about him. Yeah. So it's a lot more than I think they bargained for when they sign up. But I think in the end, I'm hoping in the end they appreciate it and understand why
Oh,
we
I'm
do.
sure they do. I'm sure they do. And I think too, that's another experience that you're giving them. Yes, they're paying to go there. Yes, you're providing something to them on the way back with a check or whatever. But I think them being a part of that and seeing that other people are coming together for them, perfect strangers that they never, yes, for the love of the sport, but also for the love of the service members and being a part of that. I think that's huge. That's another experience they get to participate in.
And I think putting pictures up of them in anything other than uniform helps contextualize that, yes, we're honoring the loss, but we're also celebrating their life. And that is their family's opportunity, I think, to relate who that person was back to everybody else that's there. It's super important. So I think as far as the shooting competitions are concerned, is there anything you'd like to add for those that would like to get involved with your shooting competition? What would they need to do?
Yeah, so if they want to get involved in the shooting competition itself as a volunteer, they could go to memorialvalor.com, and we have a volunteer sheet on there. You can make your way through the website. You'll find it. I think it's under events. But you could volunteer for a position. There's always positions open for the event itself. As far as shooter, it sells out normally under 30 seconds. So I don't know if that will be possible. And but if something you want to participate in, I just recommend keeping up on our social media, Memorial Valor on Instagram, and we're having a hard time with Facebook. We're still Memorial 3 Gun Foundation under that. But just keeping up with our social media because we always post when registration is going to open. The match is our culminating event. Now, the whole reason we changed our name to Memorial Valor was because like we were trying to submit for grants, and then that word gun scared off a lot of businesses, as you can imagine. And on top of like goes back to I don't have my MBA. Jordan, our COO, he's just trying to piece this together himself, so we don't know how to properly do the grant writing. So we're learning. But it also opens up different avenues as far as events we can do. We totally pigeonholed ourselves when it came to the 3-gun community, which is good. It was a great start and can't thank the community enough, but we weren't tapping into other communities. It was singling everybody else out. So we changed the name, and it's allowing us to do other events. We have a golf tournament. We conducted, I want to say, God, I can't remember when it was. It was, I think, April, May of this past year. We raised, I want to say, we netted, I should say, around 6,000 maybe. For our first match or first golf tournament, I was pretty happy with that. And then, so we're going to continue that and grow that a little more. Hopefully that's what we earned our first year. So with the match, so hopefully we can grow that to be a little bigger.
There you go.
And then, this one's going to get you a kick, guys. Don't laugh at this one. It's going to be a kick because the Green Beret and all these people, fashion show. Hear me out. Fashion show. Hear me out. Hear me out on this one. So, again, we are all volunteer organization. We have great people within that want to help. One of our committee members, she's actually one of our range masters and coordinates the ROs, Jen Card. She wants to put on a fashion show. And when we have volunteers like that want to be proactive and do something like that, it's our job to support them. So we are getting behind her and helping her with this fashion show. It's going to be held in Raleigh in June of 2026. So a whole nother world I've never been exposed to. I have no idea what it even looks like for sponsors. So that's something we're moving to.
It's huge out here, and that and purse bingo. If you can get more ladies, I know that from competition myself, women, we are definitely a minority. So another way to bring ladies to be a participant, because, you are dealing with spouses, and most of them in the group that you're dealing with, they are females. They want to participate. Do some purse bingo. Girls love bingo. So I'm telling you, it's huge out here. Huge.
I'm open for anything.
I'm part of a lot of military and law enforcement groups, and raise a lot of money for that with purse bingo. Crazy.
Okay, that's great to know. Yeah, and the thing is, I just love people in our foundation that are proactive and wanting to put an event on, because I've been the lead on this whole match for a long time. And we tried doing, and complete transparency, we tried doing a gala this year. And I want to say it was a flop. It was just so hard branching out into a gala because there's so much money for a startup to get that started, and reaching out, pretty much asking for donations to be a sponsor. That's a whole different than product. Asking for money is completely different. So we were unable to do that, which I'm kind of glad, I'll be honest, because it seems a lot of bigger foundations do that. So we're just following along with the trend. I want to do something unique. And that's kind of why I love this fashion show idea that Jen brought up, because it's something unique. Like, nobody ever thought we were going to be successful doing a 3-gun match, and here we are. So it's doing something different, bringing in a different community, and just spreading our mission. So that's what this whole thing's about.
Well, I'm telling you, you bring out your escorts, and I mean that in a legitimate escort. You have escorts in uniform. Everybody loves a person in military in uniform. I'm just saying. So you get more of the folks that are in the local, organizations or something that can still put on a uniform. I'm telling you, those are just the people helping people up on the stage and everything. It'll be a good time. That's my. Hey,
don't threaten me. I'll put on my greens again. I'll put on my greens.
There you go. Hey, I'm looking for the pictures then, Eric. It's on.
now you're just showing off. I couldn't squeeze my ass back into my uniform if my life depended on it. Everyone would hear the seams rip from about a quarter mile away.
Jerry, so we did a wreath laying at Arlington in June, and obviously that was the last time I wore the uniform, and I tried getting in my my old dress uniform. Did not work at all. I had to buy a whole new uniform just for that one occasion. So I get what you're saying.
It's funny because recently I had to go back to England. There's a friend of mine I was in the service with, and he passed. It wasn't service related. He had an illness outside of that, but I went back, and so there were a lot of other service members that knew him, and we knew each other, and we're all squeezing into our green berets. I couldn't even get mine on over my head. I had to cut it in the back to get it to fit. And I'm like, between whenever the last time I put it on, which has got to be now 25 years ago now, and now, did my head literally grow as well? I mean, it was one thing that my ass spread, but but my head as well. I'm like, this is insult to injury. And it's funny because talking about your fashion show, I'm trying to envision a bunch of regular, everyday concealed carry shooters being told not to wear their concealed carry outfits. You know what I mean? Like trying to dress them up in something fashionable. Anyway, I'm there.
Hey, belly bands. To see that. Belly bands still work really, really well. You can slide that on under anything.
It's true. It's true. That's fantastic. All right. So you mentioned there's very little chance of getting in to do the shooting competition because it's sold out so quickly. They can volunteer. They can also donate going to memorialvalor.com. I think that is always a great way for those that aren't able to volunteer to also help out. Is there anything else you would like to share today? You've already given us a wealth of information, but is there anything else you feel like is important?
Yeah, just 2 points. One, just I can't thank everyone listening enough. I can't thank our supporters enough because, and I know I try to be heartfelt as possible because I truly mean it. We cannot do this without everybody. We couldn't keep helping these families without people just being interested in what we're trying to do. And then even those that take the extra step in donating. And two, please, these families have sacrificed so much. Even if you don't donate, even if you don't volunteer, like at minimum, just go on the website and learn about these men and women, because that's why we're here. We're trying to make sure that these men and women are never forgotten. Try seeing past the uniform. The speech I gave at Hillsdale, the way I started it, I gave them a couple scenarios, but before I even gave those scenarios, I said, before I do this, please picture your husband, your mom, your son, your daughter, or even your best friend as one of these scenarios. Because if you don't make that connection, some people go back and like you said, Terry, they just look at the uniform. So at minimum, please go to our website, just check it out, check out who these men and women are. But I really appreciate every single one of you for even listening to what we're doing here and have gone more. And Terry, thank you for having me on. Kristen, I appreciate you for giving me this platform to spread our mission even more. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
I'm so glad you were able to carve out the time. I know you're traveling tomorrow, so the fact you're able to jump in today is fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being here as well, Kristen. All right, that's it for today's episode. Please do me a favor and feed the algorithm by sharing, liking, and subscribing. It's free and it's an easy way to support the show and help us bring you the guests you'd like to hear from. For now, have a smashing rest of the day, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.